speaker, Dr. Jimmy Lim. Professor Dr. Jimmy Lim is a leading architect in Malaysia and is renowned for exceptional designs and dedication to preserving heritage. His impressive body of work spans a wide range of projects, from religious buildings to education institutions and luxurious tropical resorts. After earning his architecture degree in Australia, Dr. Lim established his firm leveraging his expertise in tropical architecture. His signature style emphasizes natural materials and innovative ventilation systems, as seen in acclaimed projects like the Salinger Residence. Dr. Lim's portfolio boasts diverse accomplishments, including iconic structures like Menara Prudential Office Tower, Sentul, and St. John's Institution Schools in Kuala Lumpur. His contribution extends beyond design. He was recognized with the prestigious PAM Gold Medal Award for his lifelong dedication to the Malaysian Institute of Architects and his impactful service to the profession. As a founding member of the PAM Gold, Dr. Professor Lim actively promotes heritage awareness and conservation efforts in Malaysia. Despite his illustrious career, he remains committed to both architectural practice and education, enriching the field with his knowledge and passion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Jimmy Lim on stage for his keynote address.
Good morning. My name is Jimmy Lim. I'm from Malaysia. Pakistan, you've got 4 seasons. Malaysia, we've got 2 seasons. Hot and wet is 1 season. The other season is hot, wet, and more wet. So we have a big issue. So how do you design buildings that's comfortable? And that's where we started, by looking at the hot, wet, and more wet situation. So we started to look at architecture without walls, architecture that is open and so forth. Then later, we discovered that all these qualities in our projects became known as sustainable architecture. And then they started to have GBIs, the Green Building Index. So I tried to get Green Building Index for my building. So I filled in the forms that you have to fill in to get the number of points. And I found that all my buildings don't qualify for the GBI, because to get a GBI, you must have certain things. So I suddenly realized GBI is a big con game as far as I'm concerned. So I apologize to all of you who are subscribers, supporters of GBI. And I also like to extend my apologies to those of you here. If I might say something that offends you, please accept my apologies beforehand, because I've got a way of getting people upset. Thank you. Now, when I was invited, I was told about this book by Jane Jacobs, The Death of the Great American Cities, or whatever, something like that. Until then, I've never heard of her, I've never heard of the book, but then I started to look into it, and I realized that she was predicting, back in 1960, what is happening now, the death and the decay of the great cities. So then I realized in 1960s, that was when I started my architecture education. I was studying in Sydney under the shadows of the construction of the Sydney Opera House. And at that time, as students, we were all looking towards America. America, the great American dream. Los Angeles was where everybody was focused on. We were fascinated by pictures like this, cars on the freeway. It was everybody's dream about LA. LA was where big names like Victor Gruen was experimenting with new supermarkets. The supermarkets that we know today started in LA. Victor Gruen was one of the first persons who started. At that time in Sydney, in 1960s, the first huge, mega-sized supermarket known as Rosebery was built. And this was the start of globalization. So when we saw images like these freeways, very geometric, we were awed, we were fascinated. We thought, wow, this is cool. We've never seen engineering like this. Whilst in Sydney, the engineers were trying to solve the problem of the dome structure. We had great engineers, O.V. Arab, then trying to solve the problems. In those days, there were no computers, and O.V. Arab designed one, and that huge computer, one in London and one in Sydney, were trying to solve the problem of the arc. How do you form the curve? Did the engineer solve the problem? No, the engineer did not. I will tell you later how the problem was solved. So, we were all focused on the United States. Then, of course, the freeways took on a different form. As you can see here, now even in China, all over China, there are great freeways. Those Chengdu, China, and then of course a very famous Maggie Junction in Birmingham. They start to lose that geometric purity of what we all admire that is. So that is all part and parcel of the whole concept of globalization. So, see, these are the work of Victor Gruen. Shopping centers, until then, it was unheard of. These are drawings by, I think, Helmut Jacobi. Those of us among the audience of my age would have heard of him. The younger ones not. Until then, individual shops, street corners was the norm. You go to a street corner and you buy what you need, the local grocer. So, in Sydney, I studied and influenced by these people. You can see that, but the architect on the right, that's John Utzon, the one climbing up the stairs. And yeah. And during the days when we were in Sydney, the ideal Sydney Opera House captured the imagination of students, and we were all fascinated by it. And when Utzon resigned, we all protested. Now, you see, the architect solved the problem of how to construct the dome. So, see, this is part of a segment that's taken out from the curve of the globe. And then, because when you have a globe, a circular form, the radius to every part of the surface of the globe is constant. So therefore, all this shells arch with the ribs, they were all constructed with one singular radius, the same radius that the doctor from this part here. So you can see how it's manifested all the different shape of the shell. And that was great. I mean, this is to me, one of the greatest architecture of modern times, where architectural form is derived from pure geometry. Today, architecture does not follow geometry, but it becomes free for all. But not many of us are very good at that. So we had students protest. That's me, right? I was one of the students protesting at the Sydney Town Hall because Wilson had resigned. So that was my first experience at public protest. So we stood on the town hall steps. The guard said, get off the private property. So we get out of the property, stood on the pavement. The police said, get off public property, you are not allowed to demonstrate. So we got back onto the steps of the town hall. So it was up and down. That's a good experience. You learn. You know, that's what architecture is all about. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Most of the time you're down. But that's how it's going to be. Right? Now, during that stage, we had globalization. Globalization came in many forms because the leading countries in the world, the United States and Europe, they wanted to export a lot of their manufacturing and things like that. They wanted things to be cheap, garments to be made elsewhere, food to be grown elsewhere, and in the process, they also introduced semiconductor to different countries. Motorola was the first to go offshore, followed by people like Texas Instruments and what have you. So Motorola came to Malaysia in 1973, and after that, a lot of other things. So then the food chain, F&B followed. The first food chain that went overseas was Kentucky Fried Chicken. They went to Australia in the 1960s, and in the 1970s, it was in Malaysia. So there you are. So these are all the sort of things. With the export of the American food chain, a lot of our local style of eating changed. All the Asians who were very well proportioned, small, after consuming all this junk food, started to get obese. And so the landscape of the human very petite have now become very, very big. I will not show you any pictures here, or else I will get into trouble. No. The preoccupation with high-rise building was a norm in those days, and everyone was trying to build the highest building. So at that time, in the 1960s, at the time when the book by Jane Jacobs was written in 1961, you have Yamasaki, New York, building the Twin Tower. At that time was really a big thing. So that was how it was. But then, all that has come to an end. Fast forward in today's world. So this becomes the reality today. In a way, Jane Jacobs' essay has come to lose. So everything's become true. She's saying the dead are asleep. So now you get to see things like that. Not only Los Angeles, but all over. Buildings are left empty. No one's taking stock of it. Nobody wants to pay. Then you get people sleeping there and then dirtying this place. Los Angeles over the weekend is like public toilet. Then on Sunday night they come in and clean it. This is very American. No shit on us. We are clean. When I went to Jamaica, I flew into Miami Airport. And then on my way back from Jamaica, I had to go to Miami in order to fly on to Phoenix. When I was at the Miami airport, the Dade County airport, someone unzipped my bag, stole my passport, stole my plane ticket, and I was left with nothing, no identity. I made a report to the police. I said, oh yeah, we have about 200 such cases every day. I said, why is it don't put signs outside to warn people about all these people when they get off the taxi? Because when you get off the taxi, they check you in. The porter checks you in. Whilst you're being distracted, these guys come and steal your thing. And a lot of this were Hispanics from around the southern United States. No, we can't do that. We can't let people think that the United States is full of criminals. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So, but anyway, I managed to fly out to Phoenix. Then after a couple of days, I got a Malaysian embassy in Washington to issue a travel pass. I flew to San Francisco, or was it Los Angeles? Went to the High Commission embassy, picked up my travel card, hop on the plane and came back. I said, thank goodness, I'll not go back to the United States. I've never been back since. So these are scenes from Los Angeles. Look at that. Right? This is in Venice Beach, Los Angeles. It's happening now. Look at all this. New York, San Francisco. You know, I still remember the days when you were, during the 60s, all the lovely songs that we heard, the mamas and the papas, the Scarborough Fair, Beatles, and all those things. So what's happened to all those dreams? Now, we come to a very important part of my talk. That is, I have to contextualize to your situation. I hope I'm not out of place or wrong, because, you see, these are some of the images I have of Pakistan. To me, when I see images like this, it warms my heart. It shows that the people are still enjoying what you have, and you're proud of what you have. You see this picture at the bottom, the guy said, fast food. No, it's probably fast, and the food is made just specially for you, not out of a machine. See, like last night, we had a barbecue tonight, and you see the fast food that were coming out. I mean, all the kebab and all barbecue were made by guys at the back. I mean, they're real stuff. It's not from the machine, which is what fast food is all. Made frozen somewhere, thrown out here, they take it out from the freezer, warm it and sell it to you. That's the American fast food, but not here. So you've got all these wonderful things. And because you've got a lot of these fantastic rituals that are still existing in your culture, young architects should be thinking of how to move forward. So you've got things like the quality of life, meeting places. You have places like this that are still going on. You don't want to lose it. Then you've got transportation, the different form of that. Do you want to replace this with this? Does Pakistan need this? I think anyone who says that they need this is like saying that you need a hole in your head. Do you need a hole in your head? If you do, well, God help you. Now, in a situation like this, it tells you one thing about the civilization. The people have stopped thinking because they are all following. I am following the car in front of me along the way. If anything happens outside, if the bridge collapses, I will just go on and drive over the collapsed bridge, like the recent Baltimore bridge. Right? Now, if the lights go red, you'll stop, regardless, because it's red light. If it goes green, you go. We don't want to become robots. And I think this is one of the wonderful things in your culture today. In Pakistan, you have people who are still alive, who are thinking. You know, you may not realize this, but let me say this, you are thinking people. But I know a lot of Pakistani say, oh, I want to go to America. I want to go to America. Why do you want to go to America? Oh, I want a green card. Like in India, hey friends, stay in your own country. You know, I noticed in Karachi, there are not many traffic lights at intersections. You know, traffic lights, red, green, red, yellow, and green. There are not many you have, but they are not working. And I asked myself, why isn't it working? Because someone must have realized that you people, the public of Pakistan, are smarter than the traffic lights. Right? You are smarter. You don't need the traffic lights to tell you when to go, when to go. So, yesterday my old friend Shahab took us for a drive to the old city, past your municipal office. And you know, my friend, every cross-section, intersection I went by, there were no traffic lights, and there were no traffic jams. But all the Pakistanis were going left, right, and south. You come from this way, everyone was going everywhere. Fantastic. Fantastic. You want to be in that something, you can't do that. No, you see, friends, this is why you don't underestimate yourself. Hold yourself up with high esteem. And I think that's very important. You know, you just have to go to an intersection in front of your municipal council and just watch. If you make a video of them and you I tell you, it's an impressive display of civic cohesiveness and dovetailing. And that's what's important. So, remember that. See, you've got your fantastic models of operation, your roads are free, your people are moving everywhere. Even your buses, your lorries, they are so colorful. It's so full of life. And I think this is what you must not lose. Look at this quality of life, people interacting. And then people like the Amazon tries to tell you, now they are having their stores, you come in, you just pick whatever you want, and they're sending you the bill because they're having their AI system that's able to record what you buy and what you watch. Now, is that true? Well, we don't know. But some people say Amazon actually have a few thousand Indians in India watching on closed circuit television to see what you take and what you buy. So much for AI. So like you got salubrious environment, walkways by the hills, recognizing the terrain, and public spaces where people meet and interact. Been doing that for hundreds of years, so why change it? It ain't broken, why fix it? No. This, you wonder what cheese has got to do with what we're talking about. But it's not the cheese that I'm concerned about. I'm more interested in the wrapping. You see, that laughing cow over there. You see, they got wrapping. Now, how do you open this thing? Oh, there's a red tag there. You pull the red tag, and then it comes off, and then it goes this way. Then you let the cheese go. There you go. Oh, sorry, supposed to come down here. And you open up your cheese. So, perfect. Now you got to fiddle all the way on. You just unzip. It's just like men unzipping your pants, you know, zip, zip, zip. And then you do. In the old days, you got to button it up and all that. So, it's a great idea. But nobody's ever used this until the Japanese came along. Then the Japanese developed this idea using the onigiri, I'm sure some of you know about this. You see? So here's a triangular piece of rice. They put it down, cross, boop, boop, boop. See, they took it one step further. So when you unwrap the whole thing, piece of what do you call seaweed that you could sort of wrap around your rice so that you can hold the seaweed and eat without. Yeah. So they are taking one step further. Now you ask yourself, why is it that no other food manufacturers think of this sort of packaging? Now, this is where, as architects, we got to look at what people have done and see how we can advance and develop our ideas. And we don't have to look at the unipolar West, because in the unipolar situation, they control the press, they control everything. They'll let you know what they want. But we got to look at it. See, in life, how you advance in life is, number one, you start off by knowledge acquisition. After you acquire knowledge, you compile or you consolidate the knowledge you have acquired. Then the third point is you apply what you have learned. You learn from reading, you learn from talking with friends, you learn by observing. The greatest teacher you have is your eyes. Your eyes are windows, lens to see things. And your brain is where it absorbs everything. The brain is like a sponge. You drop the sponge into water, you pick it up, you squeeze, what comes up? Water comes out. You drop your brain into a pot of beer, wow, pick it up, you squeeze. Beer comes out of the sponge. And I won't carry on, but then you know what I'm trying to say. The brain sponges and absorbs everything, rightly or wrongly. So we mustn't be like that. So then you are. So with this, then we won the Aga Khan Award 1998. The Aga Khan Award, no big deal. Lots of people won it. But it was what is how we went about it. Actually, the jury members that actually picked our project and said it must be a winner was Zaha Hadid. When she saw it, she said, this project must win. And that's a deal we are receiving the award. Just so that you can see for yourself, I'm not making up stories. In today's world, a lot of fake news. So this is not fake. You don't need to do fact check, but you can do also. Now, the Salinger's house is based on the traditional Malay house. The traditional Malay house is like what you see. It's rectangular and very simple. But what we've done is we have taken the triangle from the rectangle. We have two triangles juxtaposition on each other, pointing in two directions. Essentially, the husband was a Canadian, French Canadian. The wife is a local Malaysian. And the husband said, look, I'd like to have a completely Malay influenced house. And the wife said, no, I want a modern house. So you see, they're all looking in two different directions. I thought, that's a great way to start. Two arrowheads pointing in opposite direction. And that's how we came up with this concept. Then, when we wanted to get this building built, we had a problem. We had to look for carpenters. And we went to a few people. They looked at it, they took one look. Oh, no. Right. Most people are like that. In our culture, the same. You ask them, can you do it? The first thing they say, cannot. Then you say, why not? Very difficult, very difficult. I think this is the greatest illness any society can adopt. Then we finally managed to find this man over there. The one on top anyway, on Bushan. He's an old carpenter from a village up in northern Malaya. He doesn't have a right hand and he's blind in his left eye. he was the main contractor carpenter who built this. When the people showed him the drawing, two triangles, he looked at it. Then they asked him, do you think you can build it? You know what was his reply? If they can draw it, I can build it. Now, that's the spirit, friend. That's the spirit. I think living up to the challenge. It's not, cannot love, which is the vocabulary of most young people today. What can you do? Oh, I go to Starbucks, drink coffee. Oh. So you see, with one hand and one eye, he and his team, they were able to create and make connections like this based on all the ones. Now, that's what I call determination and foresight. And this is what another view of them. And every joint and junction without nails and bolts. The whole triangulation, geometry, and structural pattern is carried throughout the whole house. So in other words, we use one language, and we are quite happy that we did. It's totally sustainable. The amount of electricity consumption was very low, and they did not have to use air conditioning. So based on our experimentation and confidence, what the architect was based on a single Malay house, we started to look in the traditional Malay villages. These are all the Malay villages with the houses clustered around open space. And here they are, open spaces in between, open spaces in between. So it's really very much on a good basis. And they are all totally sustainable. As against development today, where you have houses that are in concrete, at the end, the formwork is all thrown away and what have you. And the concrete houses, at the end, when it's finished, they don't want it, they demolish it, the waste are again totally non-sustainable. This is what we try not to do. Now, in looking into the Malay house as the design source for our work and the use of sustainable material, we like to also use recycled material. Now, this is a farmhouse in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. This was how it was when it was completed. This is what it is now, 12, 13 years later. This was what it was when it was completed. Almost semi-arid. Now it's lush green. So this came about because we introduced a pond. There was a depression and we decided to discharge all of the wastewater here in order for it to create microclimatic situation. So the pond is what it is today. Large, full of wind, and it has spawned a small enclave, almost like a tropical rainforest. So these pictures were sent to me by my client after 13 years. I don't know, he must have felt quite proud of it and decided, I'll let the architect know. So I think it's nice to have a client who's satisfied, and so he sent all these pictures to us. Yeah. Now, you'll notice that we've used quite a lot of timber, wood, in this house. And this is in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. Wood is expensive. Now, where do we get the wood? I, for some reason, found out that there's a place in Gujarat where they break ships like they do just outside Karachi. And when they break down ships, every ship has a huge quantity of wood, timber, that they use inside their ship. And that's where you can get a lot of inexpensive wood for your architecture. Perhaps you could, some of you who are interested in using wood, you could visit the shipwrecking yard and see what it is. So this place in India was called A-1, and you could not find it in the map. This was pre-GPS days. So we have to drive every time going jumping junction, and you ask, where's A-1? Congress, we drive there. Because the next junction, where's A-1? So we're going around with Salle, but we got there. These are what the traditional Malay kampung houses look like. People hanging around under the shade. And it hasn't changed very much. Central space people interconnected and what have you. So, what do you do from here? So, what we do is we bring a lot of these elements into our architecture, shaded area next to the supervision. Very much like the children. Children swimming in the river. Great fun. So we have water in the houses and in the river. Then architecture using geometry to express the form. Here are other examples of experimenting with sustainable architecture. We're using wood in all splendor, no air conditioning. This is what the house looks like with the swimming pool again going in. So these are elements that prompt us to start finally looking at the solution, what we call a condominium. This for us is the solution for the solution forward to circumnavigate the sort of things that are being introduced into our place, our space, totally alien, and how to go about it. So this is a project on 13 acres of land. It's a we developed this during the COVID period when we could not do much things. Now, what we essentially did is we developed 3 blocks of dwelling, each on a module of 400 square feet, with a lot of spaces outside instead of narrow corridors. I'll show you next. As you can see here, I think I might have to go over and explain to you. So it comes in a set, a duplex. So if we want to increase the height, we just go 2, 4, 6. So every time is a multiple of 2. Now, this is one unit, this is another, and in between we have a passageway, a kind of an interactive space of 20 feet, so that you are not opening into a little narrow corridor of 5, 6 feet. So we got all this orange color all around. And on this floor, we have 4 swimming pools, the blue color ones, so that the children on this floor can all use this. and interact. And then we've got 4 lift courses, the purple are the lift course. And this is the upper level. Now on the upper level, all the walkways are extended wire mesh so that there's visual connectivity with the floor below. And all these white spaces are open space so we can connect through. I've got some pictures afterwards to explain this whole thing. So they act as a pair. And here we have the roof plan. Now, essentially the roof plan you can use it for, what do you call solar cells, or it just can be open landscape, open space, you can plant whatever it is. So it's all trying to optimize the sort of situation on waste. Here it is. So, no, this is the car park. The car park is a spiraling car park. So after you park your cars, in the middle here, we have cluster of shops. So there are 5 levels down, and 5, and every level there are a little cluster of shops. And this is what it is. The shops can be there to look modern, or they can be shops that open to sell anything. So people living there, they come back, park their cars, do the shopping, get on the lift and go back to their apartment. So these are images of the passageways, and you can see that interactive spaces, there's swimming pool area, and people can go. So children don't have to go down from the high rise to the ground, but they can interact at these spaces. So at the roof level, you can do planting, or you can do it for the traditional shops to sell things, people there. And here, this is the upper level, which is a metal white, transparent, you're looking down. There's always a lot of light, shade, and air that's going through. And one of the good things about this, and this is what it looks like outside, we've got a pond. You see, there's a river here that runs through. So we channel the water in to create a lake, a pond, a water body in the site. And this becomes this water body around the property. Now, the advantage of this development, the way we plan it to be, is totally sustainable. The environment is totally protected. There's no cutting of the slopes, filling or shifting of earth. There's no need to build any retaining walls. There's no removal of natural vegetation. So wherever you are going to build, you just clear the site and you build the building, the rest is kept natural. No earth surfaces are disturbed or weakened. So you don't cut this for drain, for drop manholes or whatever it is. And there's no step or drop manholes for drainage. You don't introduce any drainage. Keep the drainage on the surface as it is originally. So there's no removal of topsoil, and the design of these condominiums shall reflect and retain the local flavors, cultures, and traditional rituals of living. So the important thing is, it does not interrupt the normal lifespan, the usage of life. So to us, this is a solution of overcoming the views that we have been following in the West, because a lot of things they've done is coming to an end. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? Do we follow the unipolar values, end up in a cul-de-sac or over a cliff? Or do we, as Asians, create a new renaissance and a glorious future for ourselves? So, that's the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for an insightful and thought-provoking presentation.